Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed. I hope you're having a great summer. And welcome to episode 100, the Stargate Atlantis cast reunion. I know many of you have been waiting for this, and I'm not going to belabor the point for much longer. If you enjoy Stargate and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, it would mean a great deal to me if you click that like button. It makes a difference with YouTube's algorithm and will really help the show continue to grow its audience. Please also consider sharing this video with a Stargate friend. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you the moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. This is key if you plan on watching live. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next several days on the Dial the Gate and gateworld.net YouTube channels. My thanks to the cast of Stargate Atlantis for joining us for this episode. David Hewlett, Torri Higginson, Paul McGillion, Rainbow Sun Francks, David Nykl, and Robert Picardo start us off. Rachel Luttrell comes in about 25 minutes. So enjoy. I hope you got 90 minutes for this because this is a wild ride. Yeah. Welcome all of you to San Diego Comic-Con at Home 2021, the Stargate Atlantis 2021 cast reunion. How are you guys? You doing good?
It's just like being there.
Yeah, I'd say it's about what? It's about a 60% reunion going on right now. We've got
a 60% chance of reunion with
yeah.
Who else are we waiting for?
So maybe Flanagan may stop in. I'm not entirely sure. Rachel is definitely coming in.
Flanagan will call in from his phone on his surfboard.
I had no idea this was going on, man.
If he doesn't, I'll just play him.
Hi guys.
There you go. Perfect.
On Maui.
So I wanted to go around the group and ask all of you how you're doing and what projects you're currently engaged in and what else is going on. And David, you're currently at my top left, so I'd like to start with you, David Nykl.
Oh, me? Oh, wow.
Yes,
great.
sir.
Thanks for throwing that one on me. Well, you know, hey, lockdown, end of lockdown. That's nice. Looking forward to that so much. We've been pretty lucky here in BC. We got good first immunizations. I got one. We got one more coming up. So that's going to kind of mark the big end of everything. I only had about 2 gigs. It's been miserable. I've been acting, to a tripod and a tennis ball, and some very good people have been reading for me, including my wife and my kids and everything like that. So it's been good. I miss the conventions. I miss my colleagues, all of you. It's such a treat to see you all. Let me start off by saying that, most importantly. And it's just great to be getting out of this whole thing. So that's my general sort of state of mind. I'm looking forward to the summer. I've been doing a lot of construction projects outside of that here at the house and elsewhere. And I'm looking forward to getting working again.
I'm gonna call you for tips then. I got like a million things gone wrong in this house right now. We have a water feature in our living room right now whenever it rains.
Yeah, an inadvertent one, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Paul McGillion.
Yes.
How are you doing, sir? What's been going on?
I'm good, thanks. I'm being a dad, which is great. Little kids are 8 and 6 now, Hugh and Rosie. Yeah, doing good. Everything's good, busy. We just we're moving next month. Staying in Vancouver though, so staying inside Kitsilano, which is great, and doing that and working on a bunch of different shows. I'm doing the 2nd season of Firefly Lane is coming up on Netflix. So
yeah.
Oh, cool.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So we're looking forward to that starting up, and yeah, everything else is great. Things are good here. It seems like the restrictions are lifting, like David said a little bit. It's exciting. So yeah, doing good. Happy to see all you guys, even David.
There's 3 here, so you have to call us out. Yeah. Torri Higginson, welcome to Dial the Gate.
Hi.
How are you?
Thanks for doing this. I'm
Torri,
doing great.
Do the dolphin.
What? Oh my God. Flashback. I don't even remember it. I gotta be drunk for that. No, I need a paycheck or a spotlight.
Yeah.
Or a bottle of tequila.
What are you doing? How's your show going?
It's good. It's a really lovely, easy, gentle show. It shoots in Montreal, which has seemed to become my home the last 6 years. I've just worked there so much the last 6 years. It's crazy. And I love it. I love that city. So I kind of have one foot in Quebec and one foot in California. And I weirdly find them kind of similar. There's a real similarity between these two. They're both provinces and states that live outside of the rest of their country. You know, they have a very different vibe than the rest of the country. They have a different language. They're all chill. They don't want to work. They want to be lazy. They want to go to parks. They want to hang out. Like, it's kind of a very healthy, nice balance. So that's been great. But the show's called Transplant. We're shooting our second season. Sorry?
Habs, go.
Oh, there you go.
Hockey fan.
Go Habs.
Tonight.
That's right. Are you a Canadian fan?
Yeah.
You both are. I guess there's nobody good in Vancouver to root for.
No.
Yeah.
Which season are you working on?
We're working on season 2, and yeah, fingers crossed for, you know. And I spent most of the COVID year in LA and turning my garage into a guest house. So I was doing the construction hammering too, and that was fun.
Nice.
Lots of black nails, lots of bruising and cursing. Yeah. But
Lots of
good.
turn the water off quickly.
So, right, fast, but really so lovely to see all your faces. It's really lovely. It's really, really. I was surprised at how much my heart went. Oh.
Yeah.
So thank you, David, for organizing this. It's great.
Absolutely happy to. Thank you for all for being here. David Hewlett, what's going on, my friend?
I sometimes leave my basement. Sometimes that's basically what I've been doing. I feel guilty in that I've really enjoyed the lockdown because Baz and I have just got to geek out together. You know, he got me doing some more streaming, and I started doing my Tech Bandits Club online because the kids weren't allowed at school anymore. So I've just been having a blast. And then Toronto, strangely, I mean, I was very nervous to go back to work, and a job came up, and I said to Jane, look, I don't think I can do this. I'm feeling, you know, and she's like, no, you can do it. So she's like, off you go. It's been, 8 months of not working. You better go. So I went off and did that. And it was Departure and a bit of Clarice and some stuff. So it's been good. There's been like, just enough work to keep me, I think, slightly more social. I think Jane basically forced us to get a dog because she was nervous that Baz and I never left the house. So we now have a new dog called Huzzah!
Huzzah!
So Huzzah and I do a couple of walks a day, and that gets us out.
Well, you're following health orders, Dave. You're not supposed to leave the house.
You're allowed to.
With the dog, you're allowed to.
No, you're allowed to walk.
And you're allowed to.
People in Quebec were renting their dogs at nighttime. They're renting their dogs out after the curfew, so other people can go out. I think drug dealers are like renting people's dogs.
So was that
dogs are thrilled.
Was that a side gig for Ziggy?
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
I was trying to. Yeah, earn your kibble, dog. Get out there.
Yeah, exactly, man.
That's really good, actually. I'll just put a for rent sign on her then.
Yeah,
that's it.
Bob Picardo. I was kind of wondering which personality you would bring with you today, Bob.
I'm now a clothing influencer for Old Navy, as you can see. I applied for Armani and Zegna, but Old Navy was the only one interested, so that's part of it.
It's better than the dollar store.
You're referring to the dollar store is next, believe me. I have during lockdown, with little to do and no one to act with, I decided, who's an actor that I loved working with? Me. So I decided to make videos with myself. I play multiple characters. I now have nearly 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if I get another 38 today from this, it's going to be golden. I also I still do shows where they pay me occasionally just because I'm nostalgic about, the US dollar. So I've just finished work on the 3rd season of a show on Apple TV called Dickinson. It's ostensibly about Emily Dickinson, but it's the strangest kind of surreal mashup of Emily Dickinson with, 21st century sensibilities, with Haley Steinfeld playing Emily, who's just great. And I play her father's best friend and political consultant. So that's been fun, wearing all those period clothes and the giant hats that you wouldn't be able to see in this screen. They go up, like that. And I also have been playing a character for 2 seasons on the Black Entertainment Network, because when you look at me, you think Black Entertainment Network. And it's called The Family Business. And I play, of course, an Orthodox Jewish drug dealer. Life is eclectic and fun. And, when you wear a yarmulke, you at least get to cover part of the dome. So it's been a good, considering it's a pandemic year, I feel very blessed.
And can you play that piano behind you?
No, not at all. It's completely pretend. It's actually just a green screen. Here, look.
It's a Zoom background.
No, it's my wife's piano, but I'm proud of it. So anyway, so here I am.
I'm proud of her for owning it.
I'm proud of her for owning it and knowing how to play it slightly.
Rainbow Sun, welcome, my friend. How are you? What's been going on?
Hey, everybody. What's been going on? I've been in my apartment for a year or more by myself, and so I'm going squirrely. My only reprieve has been since work has been slow this year. I've been dealing and just renting people's dogs.
Nice work.
I got a nice stroll. Yeah, it's a good hustle. It's a good side hustle. I've just been literally alone, and so I'm going crazy, and that's no different than me normal, but just a little more crazy. That's what I've been doing. I haven't really worked this year, but I did work a lot last year, and a bunch of stuff's come out. I got a little role in this movie called Trigger Point that came out about a month ago, and with Colm and Barry Pepper and Laura Vandervoort and me, and it's kind of fun. And then an FX show called 9 Films About Technology. I'm in that just came out a month or so ago, and I have a really fun Netflix thing coming out, but I can't talk about it because it hasn't been released yet. But I'm excited for that as well. Other than that, I'm waiting for the next job. Who knows? I'm doing 1,000 tapes because apparently now my house is a casting room. Apparently, they don't have to pay a lease on the free casting room.
Yeah,
I was going to approach each of you with the question, but I think I'd rather make it a free for all and just kind of see what happens here with the dynamic in the group.
Let him
That seems like a
It's gonna
bad
end in
idea.
tears, David.
Great
It's gonna
idea.
end in tears.
And go. And go. 17 years ago, guys. 17 years ago this summer,
Don't do that.
Atlantis went on the air. Is that hard to believe? Is it hard to believe that fans are still into it almost as fervently as when it was airing? Whole new generation has been born since then that are now watching it. This won't
people
end
no
well.
longer say things like, I saw you on, you're in that show. They say like, oh, you're in that show my parents used to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My grandfather introduced me to the show.
Yeah,
I really love it.
literally.
Grandfather. Come on.
It's a tough question to ask at the end of a pandemic year, because literally, apart from seeing you guys here on video screens, I've done about 2 or 3 of these things where you see people on video screens and you kind of go, okay, there's someone in Australia, there's someone in England, but you don't get a sense of connection with the fans as you would normally when you go to the events. It's more sort of evidence online, particularly since there's this story breaking that there might MGM being bought by those guys, the monopoly guy, which
Amazonians.
and that he's
Amazon, what? Is that true?
Yep.
Amazon buying MGM. So there's all this
from Sony?
There seems to be this. I'll just finish my point. There's this noise going on online that there's Stargate coming back. So there's evidence of activity there, but I haven't personally seen anything other than on screen, right? Because we haven't been anywhere. So the fandom thrives and survives, though, I believe.
It is amazing how it thrives and survives. And I think SG1 that went for 11 years, 10 years, 11 years, like that did a lot of the cementing of that franchise. And to me, though, it seems amazing that it's 17 years it feels longer to me. It feels like so much has happened. Like it feels forever ago. It feels another life ago.
Yeah.
Feels like high school.
It kind of does. And I look at pictures now and I go, I remember I felt old then. And I look at pictures and go, I look like I was 12. I look like I was 12 years old.
That's so true. I felt like I was old then. And I look back and go, oh, no, I had no idea.
I was.
Oh my God.
I actually was 12.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
You were. It's true.
Rainbow, how old were you when you started on this show? Were you 20, 22,
23, 22,
Yeah.
23.
Oh, Bambino.
Me too.
It's in vinegar.
Just a leap high.
David Hewlett, do you
He's still
yeah. Is it hard to believe
for me? Yeah.
Is it hard to believe that fans are still into it? Or is it like, it's evergreen, it's always going to be like this?
It's funny. It just becomes, it's what I've always said. It's like one of those great things where it's not all the time. Like it's not everywhere you go. It's just certain places, certain times, people will sort of make the connection, and you sort of see them do it. And as Jewel would say, don't make eye contact. Don't make eye contact. But I really like it because it's always nice for the ego to have someone come up and say like, oh hey, I saw, I grew up with this or grew up with your character and stuff. I mean, and also now working with the kids, it's just kind of neat because you suddenly realize that people are doctors because of Beckett,
Right.
or they're leaders in science because they saw Amanda Tapping and Stargate and stuff. So it's just kind of neat from that perspective. It's almost never a negative thing for me.
And
the weird thing for me is that when you have a kid, there's like a physical thing that grows.
Have you also noticed that there's this kind of echo wave sort of reaction to it, depending on where it goes? Like sometimes you start getting fans from Germany, and it's like, oh, Stargate must be running in Germany now, or
right.
Do that
they
in
airing it again.
Yeah, they do that in Prague. I started getting sort of like a bunch of fan letters from Czech fans, and it's like you said, it's the next generation, and I'm kind of going, what's going on? And some TV station has bought it up, and they're running it, and so like that. So there are those kind of reverberations of it, but it's a show that's like 15, 20 years old now. It's a historical, we were around before the iPhone and before any of this was going, right? So it's
and yeah. Robert, you've been through this before. What's your how do you find all of this?
Well, because I'm a man of two allegiances, because I spent 7 years doing, the Star Trek franchise before I was invited for a one episode heavy on the Stargate franchise. I just remember that it qualitatively working on the show was so much looser than Star Trek is very carefully controlled because it's set in the future and they don't want any hints of colloquial language, expressions, whatever. But Stargate felt so loosey goosey that it felt like I got out of prison in a way. We could actually ad lib a line, and nobody, the office didn't visit the set and say, oh, actually,
they visited. They visited.
Well, in any case, I remember feeling kind of looser. The whole experience was such a gift because normally we audition for every job we get, and to actually have kind of come in the side door on Stargate and get asked to do a guest star and to play a very unpleasant and unlikable character. And then because that night I had dinner with the two producers and they sort of decided that they liked me enough to want to have me back, then they had to figure out how to take this incredibly one-dimensional and unlikable character and sort of try to redeem him somewhat so that he could start coming back. So for me, I was obviously a Johnny come lately to the experience. Everybody was so nice to me, but I never got to work with Rainbow. Rainbow and I had to become friends at a convention.
Yeah, at a convention.
Rather than, on the set. And I came in just sort of on and off a few times and then was there just for the last season. But to me, I don't have all the shared experience that all of my wonderful co-stars have here. But as I said, to me, it was just total fun. And not that I didn't like my Star Trek years, I did very much, but it just seemed so much more relaxed. And because I was more relaxed, I was able to literally laugh at every other thing David Hewlett ever said on the set.
Every other thing.
I did. I mean, every other thing. The 50% of them were hilarious, and the other 50%.
That's it. You talk enough, something's going to be funny.
No, but it was a great feeling to actually get cracked up all the time. So it was just I remember the fun more than anything.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun. It was a ton of fun. It really was.
And it was hard to keep a straight face.
Yeah.
At all times.
Cops and robbers in space. You know what I mean? It was just like.
Well, and the other thing, because it was set in, it's very sort of like, it was of the time. So like you didn't, as you say, Robert, you didn't have all the techno stuff was all based on, it would be our reactions to it if it was happening in the real world now anyways. So
I like to think that maybe that the producers realize that this is fairy tales. These are stories for adults. So why don't we at least have fun with it, right? Humor as a part of the DNA of Stargate is kind of what set it apart from those kind of more sort of soap opera-y, deliver a line, big feeling sort of sci-fi, you know, that to have sort of a sense of humor and at the peril that we're in is good.
When you guys came into Atlantis, for those of you who launched it, how did you feel about SG1, which had ran 7 seasons? How did you think that this was going to work from the get-go? We're going to be doing this for 5 years. What were your impressions early on?
I thought I was going to be doing it for 5 years. Wah, 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 wah. No, I'm just joking. As soon as I saw the set, I thought it was going to be. It was such a glorious set that Atlantis set. It was so beautiful. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, they upgraded from SG1. And I made fun of all the guys for their set because they had no AC. And it was all cramped. And I was like, look at this. Look at our high ceilings. How beautiful is this?
Well, I remember Rainbow being there and you're like, oh, this is amazing. That's where I'm going to DJ up there at the party.
Yeah. I was breakdancing in front of the gate.
When you got there, you had the distinct feeling, I think all of us did, that this is not going anywhere. I mean, there aren't building stages like this for it to be one season, you know?
Exactly.
So that was the exciting part. And especially Robert Patrick being in the pilot. And it just had a real big energy of this is going to go a while. It's like it had almost like an epic feel, like certainly the 2-parter that we started with, you know, just so many people involved, so many moving parts. So it just felt really special, you know. It was cool to be part of.
I always assumed we were going to get canceled every time, so that was I just assumed every year. The only year I thought, well, there is no freaking way they're not doing season 6. The only time I was ever wrong. So,
Torri,
right,
you had your feet in both worlds. You were shooting Rising and you were shooting New Order.
Yeah, it was fun. It was, I think I said this a lot at conventions, but it was a really fun experience of seeing the one sort of, you know, the one set, everyone is just relaxed and chill and farting. And then our set, everyone was nervous and like trying to get it right and frightened of being fired. And it was these 2 completely different worlds.
There was still farting though.
They're still farting, but we didn't laugh about it. We did it quietly and tried to like tighten our sphincter and hope nobody else.
Or blame it on the other actors.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I mean, I didn't really know SG1. I had a snobby thing about sci-fi. I didn't like sci-fi. I didn't watch sci-fi. I didn't think, you know, I didn't recognize at the time that I actually had some movies in the past that I loved that were considered sci-fi. Like I had this very, small-minded approach to science fiction. So for me, I had no idea what it was all about. And I spent that first, filming the pilot of Atlantis and then doing the episode of SG1 at the same time I was going home and watching episodes of SG1, just trying to understand this world. And I don't think I really got the world. I don't think I really got the world until about halfway through, and that I didn't really understand. And I think the conventions and the fans made me understand the value of it and made me look at it differently. Because I think I did have a little bit of I studied Shakespeare. What is this? You know, like I didn't really think like this isn't theater. This isn't real. This is a paycheck. And then you start meeting these fans and you do meet people who say it changed their lives. You meet people and you have that relationship with the audience the same way you have with theater. And then that sort of makes it more immediate again. And you start understanding the value. And then I remember having this great conversation with somebody one night. And the conclusion was, if Shakespeare was alive now, he'd be writing sci-fi. He'd be writing something that was populist, that was acceptable, that was going to be able to create a world that you could talk about politics and you could have a fart joke and you can have like, he would be probably writing that format. So that was a really cool learning curve for me. And I had to sort of look at my own prejudices, my own sort of youthful arrogance.
What were
the films? Oh, sorry.
He'd be putting together serial killer documentaries for Netflix.
What were the films that were sci-fi that you didn't realize were sci-fi, Torri?
Oh my gosh, can I even think of it now? I now have dementia, so it's really hard to recall.
I loved you in Storm of the Century.
Yeah, is that considered sci-fi?
I think that no, but I mean, I just loved you in it.
That's Stephen King.
I didn't love that movie. I enjoyed doing that. I loved doing that. That was super fun. But that wasn't one of the things I looked at. I'm trying to think of now. What was it? Oh my God, I can't recall anything. Name a few classic sci-fis. I'll go.
Well, like 2001 or Blade Runner.
Yes.
Or...
Yeah, he did Tech War.
Blade Runner I'd never watched, but 2001, absolutely. That was one I watched.
You never saw Blade Runner?
I never saw Blade Runner.
Even
though we had that studio that was sort of shared, right? Didn't we share Blade Runner with the studio? And I never.
That was Blade.
No,
it was Blade.
Oh, okay.
Wesley
Also,
Snipes.
I don't know anything.
also
A
sci-fi.
little slower. He wasn't
Torri
running.
has become quite a
Let's move
nerd,
on
I can
from Tori's
tell.
question.
Still.
Tori's like, don't ask me that. I have no idea.
Sci-fi is one of those things that I think is seen as a sort of a legitimate genre in many other parts of the world, but North America still struggles with it for some reason. I don't know why, but it's seen as I think it's just still seen as sort of wobbly planets and bad dialogue. I think it's changing. It's beginning to change now.
It feels like it changed. It feels like Battlestar changed it. To me, it feels like I remember feeling this is not, I mean, this is probably not a cool thing to share, to be honest about, but I remember thinking this is not going to help my career. I just moved to LA and I thought doing sci-fi series, is that going to help my career? And I remember thinking it's not. And then Battlestar came out and all of a sudden it became much, and I think that really helped shift the North American perception of
That was also right around the time when San Diego Comic-Con started to tip into just being
mainstream.
And all of these conventions got upgraded to just being huge and mainstream, and you started seeing a lot of companies starting to pour money into them and seeing how much money they could make out of it. I don't think it was the perception as much as the perception of the industry. They didn't realize how much money they can make, and once they did, everything sort of shifted.
This is totally legit.
Absolutely.
Yeah, now it's gone to like superheroes and that. I mean, the space stuff isn't on that much anymore.
But it's all the same genre. It's all what can they capitalize on?
Well, they find new ways to reinvent it. I mean, you look at the Mandalorian, Star Wars. I mean, George Lucas himself has said it is not science fiction; it is space fantasy. If you look at the Mandalorian, it is a Western. That is what it is.
It's Lone Wolf and Cub. It's actually Japanese. It's Lone Wolf and Cub. As soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, it's Lone Wolf and Cub. Cool. I can watch this.
Exactly.
But Favreau's a genius. It's absolutely a splendid show to watch. It's so well done. I love it.
Torri, you absolutely anticipated my question because I was curious to know in terms of how you all feel about being remembered for this work. And I'm interested in some of your other folks' thoughts. How did this affect your careers and as actors and as people? Did it interfere with work later? Did it help it?
It helped in some cases, hurt in others.
Yeah.
I mean,
okay.
I think in some cases, I mean, my manager told me not to do it when I got it. They said unequivocally not to do it. And I was like, well, you're not a nerd. So
the series or 38 minutes, the episode that you were in?
The series, the Atlantis. Signing on to Atlantis, they thought was a terrible idea. And honestly, it was the best thing for me. I mean, it worked out beautifully.
You've been getting good advice, haven't you, Dave?
But this is the funny thing I've discovered about the industry is nobody has a clue.
No.
Exactly. It is lightning in a bottle. Things happen by accident. Some things take off, some things don't.
Even more now than before. You have no idea what's going to go viral because some of the shows that have become smash hits. I'm like, what?
And yet it's an industry full of people who will tell you they know what they're talking about. And that's the other thing that I've discovered.
I found the actual content of working on it to be an incredible technical education, like the terms of like hitting your mark and the way scenes needed to be done and the way you do 8 pages in a day and how you actually get that done and what actually creativity is when you are on a schedule. So that the sort of technical education as an actor of that was took that into all the other projects I did since then and still do. It was
how to get 2 of those breakfast burritos in your mouth at the same time quickly before that first scene.
How to get breakfast before makeup, how to talk to the cat before having to go, all those tricks.
And it was the best studio because the dogs are everywhere. So I just throw that out to the producers. Like it was crazy. Our hair and makeup trailer had like 8 dogs in it sometimes.
Yeah.
You guys wouldn't recognize it. Yeah, you guys wouldn't recognize it. I live about like 2 kilometers away from the studio. Everywhere, it's all parking lots and built up garages now where our trailers used to be, and they've put in extra studios. The bridge has completely been transformed because studio space is such a premium here in the city. So they've tripled the capacity of that facility.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, it's Rachel.
Good to see you, beauty.
Hi, Rachel.
Oh my God, you don't look different at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Okay, stop talking about her, guys. She's here.
Paul wants to continue.
Oh, hi, Rachel.
Oh, hello. It's so great to see your faces. Sorry to jump in Anyway.
Welcome to the party. What are you talking about?
Thank you.
Bob, I'm going to come to you in just a second. I do have a question for you, and then Paul. Rachel, how is Ridley? How are the auditions going?
Ridley's. My little girl is blowing my mind. She's currently working on her second feature of the year. Yeah. She just wrapped a movie with John Malkovich a month and a half ago, and now she's working with Allison Janney, and she's higher in the cast list than I've ever been. She's number 3 on the call sheet. So so she's doing great. That's why, So I'm up here in support of my baby girl. So it's great. It's really good. It's good.
Well, I'm glad you could make it to the party.
Thank you.
You're in Vancouver? Are you in Vancouver?
I am. I'm in Vancouver.
Oh, that's so great.
Yes, I'm going to get to see Polly and whoever else is up here.
Are you done your quarantine now?
Yes, thank goodness. Yeah, we finished on Monday. It was hell. We're all still alive.
Yeah.
Right.
Bob, did you know what you were getting into with this thing coming in for the 5th and potentially a 6th season of another established sci-fi franchise? Did you be like, was part of you like, do I really want to be known for science fiction and only science fiction at this point? Because that will really cement it.
I think that it's good to have had a number of credits before you start in science fiction. I think it's tougher on actors that, and I'm not speaking about anyone here in particular, but if it's your first major credit, in your late teens or early 20s. But I had already done China Beach and other kinds of sort of regular,
I'm feeling attacked.
Straight on dramatic
The
stuff.
Howling.
Yeah, but look at the bright side. You're also 25 years younger now. I'm sorry. Yeah. No, I had other credits, and I think that helps you from getting. But look, let's face it. After 7 years on Star Trek in my 40s, I was pegged as I was a science fiction guy. There's no turning it around after that. You have a dedicated audience that really only knows you from that. So I had no illusions about that. I had already, to me, the interesting thing was to see how the science fiction fandom, because most Star Trek fans watch Stargate, and I think the other way around. I mean, there's certain, I'm always surprised when I meet a Star Trek fan who's never seen Stargate and vice versa, because normally there's a certain amount of crossover. They may have their preference. And I meet plenty of fans that love Stargate and are kind of, iffy on Star Trek. So it certainly goes both ways. For me, the odd part was just playing a character, as I said, who was introduced, who was so unpleasant. And then when they said they wanted to turn me into a leader, I thought, everyone hates me. I have no personality. I'm a coward. I have no leadership skills, and I'm a douchebag. And
this sounds perfect.
No problem.
It worked for me.
Perfect politician.
I wasn't necessarily describing my personal characteristics. It was the character I'm speaking of. So thank you for that.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah, we made that distinction.
But the writers were very deft in giving me probably the moment when Rachel's character handed me her baby and I didn't know what to do with it was the moment the audience went, okay, this guy's not that bad, because he means well, and now he has a baby, and now he's going to learn a lesson here. So that, to me, to play a character that was basically going to reinvent himself in the later stages of his career was what made it fun, to start that job in my middle 50s and have to become a leader at that stage of life, I thought was a good analogy for what was happening after the financial meltdown in 2007. There were a lot of people my age and older who had to go back into the workforce if they were already retired. So I thought it was an interesting time to play a character like that in his middle 50s, trying to completely reinvent himself. So that, at least that was the rationale I operated under.
Rachel, I was asking the others before you jumped in. When you came into Atlantis, how did you feel about SG-1? I mean, it had ran for 17 seasons. You guys were coming in as the young upstarts, had something to prove. It was a little bit more, more itinerant, less fart jokes, like everyone is saying here. How did it feel to jump into this whole thing? And with you, it's an alien. She is human, but like you said once to me, she is unearthly.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to completely embarrass myself, and that's all good. I do not care. The truth is, I'm not aware. I had seen the movie when I was much, much younger and had loved the movie. I did not know anything about the series. I didn't. I really didn't. I came in completely naive. I was, and so, which I think was really, really good because I didn't feel the pressure to take on this enterprise, this huge fandom, etc. I didn't know anything about it, honestly. It took me probably until, I don't know, episode number 5 before I realized the impact of Stargate, and I'm happy about that. Once I did, the pressure did kind of settle in, but it took a minute. And then of course I was thrilled to be a part of it. But no, I came in completely naive. I had no idea. I had absolutely no. Yeah, and I remember our very first convention. Oh my Lord, have mercy! Right? I mean,
was that Comic-Con? Was that the?
That was Comic-Con. Yeah. It was crazy.
And the studio took us out and gave us all free liquor the night before. So I remember we all had a hangover.
We were in great moods.
Like only new actors with free liquor budget would have.
You can always tell season 1.
Right? And I thought no one's going to be at that convention because they're all mad at us because they think we're killing SG-1. And then we walked out and it was like a football field of people. And I was so hungover I couldn't speak.
Yeah.
I remember that so well.
I just found pictures from that day. We all look like we're lost.
We're completely just like ashen-faced, wide-eyed.
Oh my gosh, I remember being terrified. I remember sweating so much on stage because I was like, this is going to be kind of, and then like, I was sweating so much that I remember I just had to keep my hands plastered. Don't raise your hands. So I was like, it was so overwhelming. I had not a clue.
I hear this routinely about people who, have events in Ballroom 20 there. And part of me is like, why don't they prepare these actors beforehand? And then the other part of me is like, because they wouldn't go out on the stage.
No, listen, it's very intimidating. It's very intimidating.
I think the thing that you got to get used to, or that we weren't used to, so my moment wasn't Heathrow because I didn't go to this one, but the one in Heathrow when I come out in front of 700 people is you have to sort of develop a third person. It's like you as your private self, and then you're playing a character, which is what you're doing on TV. But this is like you and like a hybrid version of you, like you on stage and in front of 700, just talking about yourself, like sort of stuff that we're doing now. But when you first start doing it, it's like, what am I going to talk to these people about? What do they want to know? Right. It is really daunting. It's you got to develop the sort of on stage convention personality, which is like a hybrid between your character and yourself.
Good for you, David. I haven't done that yet. I always go on stage.
Well, thank you, Rachel. Thank you very much.
I was just always like terrified me. Like every time, it's just like, okay, here we go.
Yeah. Nobody wants to see Bono come out on stage and go, "Oh, okay, guys, I just sort of, hi, how are you?" You gotta
They expect you to be on.
You gotta develop a little bit of a routine for yourself, even if it's loose. It takes a little while, but.
It's a little like stand-up.
Yeah, well, I do. Yeah, I do about 10 minutes of stand-up before we get started usually.
Yeah, but we had to learn that. That was something I know when the actors don't get told you got to go out and do this sort of stuff. You sort of sink or swim, and you realize the kind of questions that you're getting, and you realize, they want to know about the pranks that were on set. What's it like to this, and then you get used to sort of the patter that comes with that. But you have to develop that. It's not an actor's job; it's a publicist's job.
Yeah, and then Paulie, you mastered that. Paulie got that down.
Long form answers for each of those questions.
I remember one of my first conventions in Germany, and the show hadn't aired yet. And I was talking to Teryl Rothery, who is a master at doing conventions. And we're waiting to go on. They're introducing the actors to go on, and I was last. And Teryl's talking to me. I'm like, I'm sweating. I'm like, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. And she's like, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. Just go out there and just be yourself. I'm like, okay. And they announce her, and all of a sudden she turns into like the Energizer Bunny. She jumps. Yeah. She starts like tap dancing on the stage and stuff, and people are going crazy. And then they introduced me. And for some reason, my legs would I walked out like a and I'm out there. I'm like, hi. And it's like they're shutting air there. It's like, And this reporter, this German guy goes, I have a question for Paul. Like, it's after half an hour. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, your character, I had a chance to see the pilot is a very humorous character on Stargate Atlantis. You as a person, are you humorous?
Like, oh my God. I love that one.
Funny. And he's looked at me and goes, yes. Like that. Oh my God, I'm dying as there.
Some of those European conventions where they're translating you on stage too are just priceless. You talk for 15 minutes, and then the other person goes. They do like this 5-second, rendition. Right. Doesn't translate.
It's like an interpretation of the answer. Jeez. I'm so thankful to fans who wrote in and submitted questions for you guys. Sarah Johnson, what was a facet of your character that you just loved or wished you could have explored further?
Everything.
Shocking that you say that, David.
Good answer. Good.
What's not to love?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, listen, it sounds cheesy, but I mean, I loved, like David said, I loved all aspects of Teyla. I loved all aspects. I loved.
You could really sing, that's for sure.
What's that, you jerk? Just be quiet.
Circles, circles.
No one needs to hear what you're saying right now. I loved all aspects of her. I loved that, they managed to craft a character who was strong, independent, intelligent, empathetic, and compassionate into, a woman. In other words, a multi-tiered, multi-leveled, diverse human being. She was a fleshed out human being, and that was wonderful to play.
David Nykl, you started off as being kind of McKay's counterpoint in terms of exposition.
Oh, really? Is that how I started off?
And it never really changed. As a viewer, come on, guys.
Torri, can I follow you wherever you're going, Torri? Please?
Come with me, David. My dog's trying to save you.
Oh. Dave, Hewlett, he didn't get the black feather. Remember?
Here come the Hewlett questions. It's minute 20.
Oh, come on. But what I was getting to is that by the end of it, it was this multifaceted, relatable, hysterical character that every time you were on screen, it was like, oh, here he comes. What's he going to say? What's he going to be irritated about now? Or what's he going to have figured out that's going to throw someone else for a loop? The character really grew over 5 seasons, pigeons and all.
Well, thank you very much for that, David. I'm going to take the high road on this one. I like to think that I think they developed Zelenka because they didn't want Rodney to do all the tech talk by himself in a monologue. So they wanted a dialogue, a little Mutt and Jeff routine, and someone that was funnier and better looking than David. So they succeeded really well.
Not hard to find. Hard to find.
With that, how do you make the green square come back on you? There it is.
That was Beckett.
And no. Again, I really enjoyed working with David. It was a lot of fun. There was a lot of chemistry, and that was what was really cool. I wasn't in the pilot. I think my first episode was number 3 or number 4 or number 2. It was called 38 Minutes. And my first scene was with Torri. So it's a real treat to see Torri because you're someone I haven't seen for a long, long time. So
for ages. We don't do much convention crossover, you and I.
No. I haven't seen you for ages. And that was one of the first scenes I did. And I remember doing the scene, and it was the only scene where I had like a radio. I had to actually, they didn't have the little thingies that I always took home with me and I have a whole shoebox full of because I forgot them. Those things had like a radio, and I was like, oh, please don't talk to me. That was the first ever scene I did. And just like you described it, like nervous, and I don't know if I'll get hired again. And I went to craft services and Brad Wright was there. And I told him, I'm Czech because the character was written as a Czech. Did you know that? And they said, oh yeah, we did know that. So I think they sort of were going with generic sort of Eastern European. They found I was Czech. They named the character Zelenka, which means green, and threw me in scenes with Hewlett, and it was a pleasure. And then they put me in scenes with Torri, and that was even more fun. And then with Robert Picardo, and that was even more fun. And then with Rainbow, and that
right, you got to call all the bases. We are insecure actors. You can't leave anybody out.
Love you all.
Say my name, but that's okay.
And Rachel! And Paul!
Whatever.
Whatever.
I think the banter though was they were good at banter. They loved their banter. It was
Yeah, that was
always
fun.
I loved the scenes whenever you got a couple of characters together just bantering back and forth. That was that was the appeal to Game of Thrones for me as well, where they ran out of time. Apparently they made the shows too short, so they had to go back the first season and figure out. Right. And that I feel like, I mean, obviously the Stargate guys have been doing it longer, and they knew that that you can have some fun with that. I mean, that's
character driven, right? You can go high concept and space and wormholes and all that, but it's when you get behind the characters, when you start knowing their story, that's what brings you to it.
Yeah, they're all relatable too, right? Everyone can relate to certain characters in the show, like all the people like the fighting character, like with Ford, and then with Teyla, and then Jason when he was on the show too, that aspect of it, and then like David and both Davids. People could find the character that they related to on the show, and that's why I think people really draw towards it, towards the characters.
Yeah, I always wish that they did some. I always wish that Ford would have reconciled with Ronan, and they would have had some sort of love affair. I thought that would have been really interesting if they had fallen in love.
About 10 years too early, though.
I think it's a real missed opportunity.
Well, I'm sure there's out there. I'm sure there's
slash fiction.
I mean, I made my own. I do it in the same way that Robert Picardo does his YouTube channel.
Yeah, but you've had a year. You should be doing fan fiction.
Yeah,
I was always fond of Ford's.
It's just me with a dreadlock.
Okay, guys, come on.
David's like, please stop this.
I was always fond of Ford's relationship with Sheppard. There was a mentor-mentee quality there that even in that single scene, in the beginning of season 5, where he's dreaming under all that rubble and he dreams of himself with Teyla, and then Ford just smashes into his mind and said, "Hey, I'm over here. You didn't rescue me. You failed. You're not as perfect as you might think."
That was fun. That was Martin Giro was like wrote that in. It was like, "Hey, are you in Vancouver still? Do you want to come in for one day?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll take the paycheck. Let's go." I would love it. But let's not overlook Ford's relationship with Paul and Rachel, man. We had such a really those moments were really special to me. We laughed
so much on that puddle jumper. We didn't stop laughing.
We laughed so much.
It was so bad, that we almost couldn't be together sometimes. Just make us laugh.
Yeah. The jumper, especially the jumper. Jesus. Yeah, my God.
But the thing is, I know you guys can all see, when they say, okay, like DeLuise especially, okay, the asteroid's coming at you. We're like, oh no, how big is it? How big is it? Or Mario has a party. Okay, Chief. Okay, this giant thing is coming in. You guys jump, and then like someone would jump 2 feet, and the other person would be like, Joe would be like, move over like that a little bit, like there's no consistency.
What they would say, that was so boring.
They would say, do
it again, but this time with talent.
But that's one of the standard problems when you get your first job in science fiction is relating to the off-screen visual effect that you'll never see. I remember on the first time that happened to me on Star Trek, when I was supposed to be battling some monster on the holodeck, and I said, "What does it look like?" And the visual effects guy, who was a really sweet guy and very shy, kind of said, "Well, it's sort of like a giant pile of glowing linguini." And I thought about that, and I said, "Okay."
Oh, Beowulf, the Beowulf monster.
Does the linguini have eyes, or do I just look at the whole linguini? So apparently, I looked at the entire plate of linguini. But it's like everyone doesn't want to look stupid by going, like with the reaction shot. But it looks equally stupid if there's this ridiculous, terrifying looking thing, and you just look at it and kind of go, eh.
You raise an eyebrow. Yeah.
So
it is a journey of trust you have to have, and that's why the second season is so much easier, because then you watch it and you go, "Oh, those guys know they're doing some good stuff." So now I can really commit without that little bit of pride, ego getting in the way, going, "Do I look like an ass?" Yeah, but it's an interesting journey you have to make. You have to have a leap of faith and a leap of trust.
Who among you have re-examined the show, have watched it since? And how do you feel about the product itself and the quality of the show? How well
I
acted
started
it
watching it
was?
I watched it with Baz. So Baz wanted to, I think because of the Twitch streaming stuff, he wanted to do like a, basically I think he wanted the Stargate audience for his Twitch channel. So I started
Sounds
watching
like your
it.
son.
Yeah, doesn't it? I was so proud of him. But we started watching it together, and it's so funny because he would get caught up in stuff that I was surprised at, because he's my son. He's so jaded. He's already watching stuff that I wouldn't watch. So, I mean, and yet there were he would get caught up in these moments. And I was quite sort of proud that he sort of reacted to, whether it was my character or other characters. But the thing that I find so funny, not me. I don't know who his favorite character. It's a good question, actually. I think he's always said,
yeah, ask him. I'd be really interested in knowing.
I will, because I don't know.
You're not gonna like the answer.
I know what he has to say. But his thing, Sedge was the best. Yeah, he would probably agree with that. He would agree with that. Oh my God, he's a dog fan.
Oh, I like him.
But he critiques the visual effects, which drives me crazy, because I'm like, it was 17 years ago. He's like, yeah, it looks like, and you're like, stop it. But that's,
My kids will be watching it because I feel like it's going to scare them. Especially the part with the Wraith is really scary, right?
Mm.
So maybe soon, they'll start.
How old are the kids now?
8 and 6.
All right. Yeah.
Have they expressed interest in the material,
13.
Paulie?
They have. Yeah, they have. But I think this year I'll get them to watch it. I'll have all of them. So it'd be cool for them to watch it. But the Wraith is pretty scary, especially in the pilot, I think.
But that's the thing. You've created.
Sorry.
What now, Rachel? Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, my kids will not watch it. They're just I have on occasion said, "Hey, Mommy was in this thing," and they're like,
Whatever, Mom.
Whatever. And on occasion, it'll come on, and I'll say, "Hey, that's," and they'll watch 10 minutes and slowly walking out of the.
Really?
That's because she's
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
I gotta prep for John Malkovich.
Totally,
I can't talk
right?
now. Did you do a show? That's nice, Mom.
Yeah, that's basically bad.
That's wild.
They'll discover it, I don't know, in their 20s and be like, "Oh, Mom they couldn't care less right now."
Really?
But the fact that you guys created a show that your kids can enjoy, and that you're like, well, but when you're 18, no, they can enjoy it now, as long as they're ready for things like the fear factor for the Wraith and things like that, because there are some frightening elements to it.
Yes. Yeah.
It'll be cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll see if they watch it. Like Rachel said, you never know what they're going to do, right?
Yeah, I try not to force it. Like, if he doesn't want to watch it, we don't do it, because I feel like
I try to force them. We're sitting down. I got the popcorn.
It's Stargate night. No.
Exactly.
Dad. Yeah.
You're watching, you're gonna like it. What's that?
Mommy's pulling out the fighting sticks. Let's go.
Yeah. Oh, watch this part, son. Watch this part. I'm great here.
Oh, we didn't make it past 10 minutes. That's okay.
Can you show your son that you can speak just as quickly now as you could 17 years ago, David? Or
yeah, pretty well. He's although the point now is that he just ignores me. It's amazing. I blow up. I do full McKay on him, and he just laughs at me.
Well, I did too.
Looking back at episodes like Satita, which was just like a powerhouse for Jason Momoa, or the scene of that one guy, or the scene
whatever happened to that guy?
Who knows?
I think he actually left Atlantis and then came back king.
That's right.
Or the scene of Rodney and Sheppard on the pier, that wonderful episode that Brad Wright wrote. It's an impressive body of work. There are some scenes between Teyla and Weir that are just so tender. I mean, you could see the subtext here that there was, these two were friends outside of just Weir's office hours. These were people that had lives. That I would suspect.
I'm glad you got that vibe. I didn't know that was, because I remember we were always fighting for more. We were always I always wanted Teyla to teach Weir how to fight, and Right. I'm really appreciative that was as an audience that you received that.
A lot of us did. No, we got that she would, when the military comes in to take over for like the second or third time, the person that she goes to is Teyla. And that was the only explanation for me, was that she wanted a peer who she respected. And that's why that scene plays as well as it does, you know, where Weir can feel comfortable with enough saying, you know what, Teyla, I may not be here next week. I don't think that I can keep on doing this. And where she was, you know, she felt like she could be in a position where there wasn't any judgment from this person who was from another galaxy, who could, as another leader to leader, could get where she was coming from.
You know what? I think so much of that is because we all just had the most terrific cast. I mean, honestly, we got along with each other organically, easily from the get-go. So I think that just translated. It just carried forth into what we brought on screen. We were very, very lucky. You know, that doesn't always happen. But it happened. It was care about people. Right? I mean, it just happened. I mean, I had a fantastic relationship with Torri. And that just carried forth into, you know, our characters. And I'm thrilled that, you know, that as you said, that as an audience you were able to see that. But I really do think that just came from the fact that we all genuinely enjoyed being around each other.
What memories do you have of each other that stick out after all this time?
I keep going back to that damn puddle jumper. They're running into the puddle jumper to see who's going to get what spot, and then the jostling around over where the seats are. And I mean, they were always like these, or those damn the scenes in the control in the
in the boardroom.
Yes.
In the boardroom, who's going to
get
first, or who's going to fold their arms?
Oh my God! Yeah, it was just
the arm playoff.
Who has the folded arm thing? Or don't forget the tables in the control room. Whenever there was an evacuation, they had that freaking thing that stuck out the side of it that would get you right in the lower.
Right.
I'm amazed that I had a child. The number of times I walked into that.
What the actual like that? How to design a room that, and you put the control room at the top of the tower where it's going to get bombed the most. I don't know.
I think people had a sense. What I loved about it was that the cast all had a sense of humor about it. Like, I mean, everyone. I mean, they took it seriously enough to do the job well. But at the same time, we just like, man, we laughed. Like, we just, honestly, of all the stuff I remember, it's just like those like belly laughs where you can't stop, and you're like, and you're feeling so fortunate for having a job, like, such a great job. And, you know, you're in this, Vancouver was fairly new to me. And it was just like, it feels like it's like a weird dream. Like, you know, it's, it was just, honestly, I think remembering the laughing was the best part.
Goran Andanowski said the caliber of guest stars you had over the years was ridiculous. The people that you were able to get. I mean, from Robert Patrick all the way down. Were you surprised at that? And who are you still proud to have worked with?
Richard Kind. Richard Kind was a lot.
Oh, Richard Kind.
Yeah. Bob Picardo.
Funny.
Bob Picardo, was he on that show?
Yeah, brilliant.
Well, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I mean, you know, Bill Nye. I mean, Jesus, it was.
Wow, when did those guys come
Robert
in?
Davi
Were they season 5?
Robert Davi, yeah.
Robert Davi was
horrible. Man.
Come on now.
That was. I did not enjoy that.
We started. I had the first scene with him, and then of course I don't normally talk with the Scottish accent. I started acting. We're in a prison cell. It was in Richard Kind's episode, and he comes up, and I start talking with the Scottish accent. And he just like he freezes. He's like, what are you doing? You go, you speak like that? You're Irish? I go, no. I'm like, oh God, oh yeah. No idea, right? I'm like, oh my God.
I mean, like, we hated each other from the moment we met. It was we never got along. It was just.
I didn't enjoy him at all. I did like Cole Meany.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And what a legend.
Loveliest guy.
Yeah, so lovely. I was very like.
No ego whatsoever.
Or Dave Ogden Steers. Remember?
Oh,
man.
beautiful. Oh my
Charles
gosh.
Emerson
beautiful.
Winchester III. Your scenes with him,
Yeah.
Torri, were dynamite. I
Oh.
just
I
rewatched
was
them a
a
few
bit-
days ago.
I was a bit starstruck. He
Yeah.
was
the
smash,
best.
dude. I was like, shit.
He was lovely.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
was so lovely, so kind, so sweet, so grounded. Yeah,
Mhm.
that was fun.
Drove
That was
himself
cool.
up from Seattle. They
Yeah.
were like, we'll
Did
get
he
you up
really?
here. He's like, no, I'll drive. He drove himself. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Robert
know that.
Patrick.
That's right.
Robert
David,
Patrick
David
was
Reed,
amazing.
I have a question for you. How many times have you watched Stargate?
The whole franchise from beginning to end in sequence, or just an average of every episode?
I think you've answered the
We
question.
got both answers. Both
Both answers. Both
I mean,
answers. And in
I've watched
alphabetical
it
order,
from
please.
beginning to end about 3 times. I've watched every episode on average around 3 or 4.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, not as many as
Cool.
you might think, considering 20 years of this. But
Yeah.
it's a good show, guys. You did well.
And you've got a good memory because I can't remember.
Well, that's the
details
thing.
of the show.
When
It's
you
like,
sit down and you
wow.
watch something with the intent, at least for me, when you sit down and watch something with the intent of, okay, I want to recall this later. My brain puts the information in just a different place. So at least it does for me. But
Yeah, I just can never find that place. That's the problem.
there you go. I don't know. Some of those lines of dialogue, holy crap. I would stand on set behind the scenes and Atlantis is floating through space and Sheppard is chewing you out over something. I'm like, how does he do this? Take after take after take. He has stored that information in a very special spot. And it's like this very, it's like RAM, in his computer. It will exit and then more information will come in for him to repeat again and again.
I always like Jason's comment on that, where he said, you think it's hard to remember all those lines? Try listening to them.
I also remember
Over and over again.
seeing it recently. Like, I'm struck by how the tech was dated. I remember when they first told us that that Atlantis is going to be paperless and that we're going to be carrying on these 25-pound laptops that are meant to look like iPads, like screens. Those heavy things. And that was, now you rewatch that. We're sort of poking into those things just before. Remember when Joe Flanagan showed up with the first iPhone and he had like this beer app on it,
yeah,
like a glass of beer,
I
and you
remember
could
that.
drink it, and we're like, what is that? Carrying
always
around
one generation
25-pound
ahead.
Hewlett Packard laptops, right? So that the tech in it is kind of.
Well, so are you, Hewlett, because you
Amazing.
insisted on no styluses. You said, no, we're not going to do styluses. This is not going to be the thing in the future. We're going to
No, I said I wasn't going to do a stylus. The idea of because I don't have that kind of, I'm just not that dexterous. I
Yeah,
can't.
you don't need that shit.
Pulling out the little pencil out, I was like, screw that. I'm just going to hit it with my fingers.
Yeah.
And strangely, that was prescient in that's what the iPad became. But
we invented the iPad. Forget
we invented the
Steve
iPad. It's true.
And
It's
Bob
true.
Picardo, he goes from pads and tricorders to writing with the pen and paper in every scene. He's got folders in front of him.
He's
So it's
retro.
completely retro.
It was great. No, I loved it. I loved being back to pen and paper. I was thinking the main difference on Star Trek being the master of my sphere of knowledge, being the doctor on that show. I was the guy who had to spew the technobabble, right? The captain, the boss comes in, the captain comes in, and it's like, here's your report. And I would do the page and a half of,
report.
real science, but extrapolated.
Ladies
Then,
and
of
gentlemen,
course-
we have an actress present.
This is Ridley. We're gonna have to say
Really?
goodbye.
Hey, Ridley.
Wow.
Hey, Ridley.
These are all Mama's old friends. Not old, literally, but
Oh, yes.
No,
I remember your
Oh, we'll
mom.
take it.
Old. Very old.
oh
Well,
gosh,
Rachel, it's
Wow,
been
so
such a pleasure to
beautiful
have
see
you.
it's been so great to see all of you. I miss it. I miss you all. I think so highly of every single one of you, and it's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. I miss
Good
every
luck,
single
Rachel
one.
and Ridley. Good luck.
Good luck. Great to see you.
Rachel.
Good luck,
You
Ridley.
guys,
We're
love
never
you.
going to
Bye,
get the
Rid-
dirt on John Malkovich now.
Yeah, great stories.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Ridley.
My pleasure.
Aw.
All right, see you
Bye,
guys. Bye.
Bye-bye.
See you, Rach.
I
Wow.
wanted to know, were you guys expecting any of your characters to hook up? And
I
if
said
so,
yes, me and Jason Momoa.
He's still waiting. Yeah.
there's a fair amount of subtext in a lot of these episodes. Torri, it was looking like with Flanagan for a while there, and then with Rachel and Flanagan, and I was like, well, maybe that's could be. I mean, Hewlett, we had you were engaged at one point, and then that fell through.
Yeah,
And then
they never explored that at all. That was so weird.
Jason let me put his wig on. That was as intimate as we got.
Ooh, that's pretty intimate. That's
Yeah,
That was
pretty
pretty
close.
cool. It was still warm. I
Yeah.
remember.
Wow,
Zelenka was
steady.
pretty sexless. There was no indications of any sort of interest that way anywhere in the scripts.
I could have seen him.
Down.
I could have seen him having a pining for Sam.
Oh yeah, the elevator scene. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wow, that was yeah.
Yeah,
Good.
there's a little bit of a sexual subtext there, just a small one, but it's funny. It's what adds humor to the scene.
Okay, so it was humor. All right.
Well, I mean, you got to start somewhere. So
Yeah, the only person I got to kiss was David the entire 5 years.
First, they say
it
at that
stuck
time
with
they
you.
called it the first male-on-male kiss in sci-fi, right? It was like
It
a
wasn't,
big
was it?
deal.
it may have been.
The
I
world
had
has
front row.
changed.
I had front row seats to it. It certainly happened several times, over and over again.
It's crazy how we think that they're going to go with one way and then they go with another one. One of my favorite episodes is one with had a lot of action, physical action between
That's what I was wondering where you were going with that.
Weir and Sheppard, called the long
Oh,
goodbye.
I love that one. That was
That
fun.
was so cool. You get
That
taken
was a
over by
fun
other
one.
personalities that decide, well, Atlantis is their last battlefield.
Yeah, that was fun. I had a lot of fun in that because I always felt left out, right? You guys all got to go in the puddle jumper and have adventures, and I was like acting by myself in my room. Everybody, you got 30 minutes left. Like I just felt so which was hard, right? Because you went, oh, you want to be a part of it. So that was fun for me because you sort of felt in the middle of it and had some action, and I came from a kind of a respectful C movie action past. I'd done a lot of C movies, not even B movies, like C action films, straight to video when that was a thing. So I'm like, it's been a few years since I got to carry a gun.
Got to kick ass.
Got to kick ass.
Did a great job.
It was fun.
Do you guys, Eva Lipinska, do you guys ever remember working so hard on a scene or a line of dialogue only to find out later that it didn't make it?
All the time. All the time.
Wow.
The ones that used to piss me off were the ones where you'd like do these huge long dialogue scenes, and then when you watch the show, you were an ant like a million miles away because they were doing some big wide tracking shot, and you'd be like, "What? Like I could have freaking dubbed that later."
You could have been reading it.
Yeah,
The coverage is on everybody else but you.
yeah. Oh, well, that happened with you, Paul, a lot, but that was a different thing.
Just like to hear my dulcet tones.
In Mariott's Party and Letters for Pegasus, he had me memorize the monologue in Czech and in English. I did both of them. And when we did the setup, we did one take in Czech only, forcing the hand of the editors. So there was never an English version for him to use. So he kept that in there. So stuff like that was done all the time.
Wow. Yeah. And that was one of the running gags about the show was what's being said on this screen here that we're that in the Czech Republic would be censored.
Everything. I said the worst. It was great.
Oh my God.
I remember they cut out one part when we did the episode with with Richard Kind, the first one.
Yes, Irresistible.
And
It
Joe and I-
needs me.
in the puddle jumper, and then I'm handcuffed, and Joe kidnaps me, sort of. And at the end of it, like he punches me, says "buck up, Carson" or something. But actually, when we shot it, I had Joe. I go, "Would you mind?" And I made him take a Kleenex out of my pocket and blow my nose for me. But they cut it out, and I was like, "So funny," Yeah, but Joe actually, I made him do it. He did it actually.
One of my favorite Woolsey episodes is Remnants with Anna Galvin. And he falls in love with not really in love, but there's an exchange between him and a probe that has been dormant beneath the ocean for how many eons. And
I hate when that happens.
And those are the only ones really attracted to me, are those dormant probes.
Those dormant probes. Yeah.
Well, they're either
you've heard still waters run deep. So
they're either taking you over because they're a nuclear warhead.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a pretty British
It was the
laugh.
same. We did the same plot on Star Trek, except I was the probe on Star. They were too cheap to hire a guest star. Wait a minute, we've got this artificial intelligence who's also a walking bomb. We were going to get a guest star, but we just thought we'd make you do it.
Oh, you ate that up! Don't you lie.
No, it was a lot of yelling. It was a lot of angry screaming. No, she was lovely, and that was a lot of fun because Woolsey, even though he was a man of a certain age, he still had it piqued his interest to have her flirting with him until he discovered that, of course, she was only an avatar, really, for an artificial intelligence. What are you going to do? It happens all the time, fellas. So my
Take what you
favorite
can
gag.
get.
My favorite gag they did on the show, I couldn't believe that I talked them into doing it, but they seemed to like it. In the show Vegas, we're having a discussion. We're looking for where can an alien hide in Las Vegas? And somebody added, I suggested they add the line, what about Star Trek The Experience? And then it cuts to me and I go, no, it closed. I was one of the 2 rides at Star Trek.
He was an attraction.
I was an attraction. So I begged them to do that, and then I thought, well, it'll get cut out, but it didn't. It's in the show, and they
You just never know.
And they didn't get sued apparently, because I thought, well, maybe Paramount will. Never mind. But I thought it was. I was proud of them for keeping that gag in.
For those of you who are on board at the end of the series, were you surprised when it didn't go for a 6th year? And what would you have wanted to see in a season 6? Inquiring minds want to know.
Yeah, I was surprised. I was, as I say, it was the first year that I thought for sure we were going to do another one. Like I really did. It just seemed like.
Why is that? Is that because Weir wasn't in it?
No, I don't think it was that. No, just because it was like, you know how I guess. Because they were talking about starting up another show. They were talking about, it just seemed like I assumed that they were just going to do what they did before, like overlap. It worked well before. I just assumed they were going to do that. So I was surprised. Like,
you guys knew you knew they were putting together Universe that last.
I don't know if
season?
did we know about Universe. I don't remember, but I can't remember now. I honestly don't remember, but I remember being pretty like confident it was going to go, and which is weird because I don't normally.
Well,
I say.
Yeah, I was brought in specifically to kill the franchise. So the fact
how many times have you done
all
that?
the time? I can't tell you how many times. They said things are going really well with Torri, but let's bring Picardo in. He'll kill the show, and I did. So
you don't jump the shark anymore. You jump Picardo. Is that the?
No, I only listened to what others were saying, and people seem. I mean, first I remember Joe. Early on seemed like he didn't think it would go on, then he was sure that it would go on or something. So I heard people change over the course of the year, change their thoughts. And I definitely got the feeling from from some of the executives on the show that they thought it would go on another year, or that we'd at least make a movie or two to sort of wrap things up.
The actors are always the last to find out. Yeah, I came to the set and Chuck told me. I remember Chuck was standing, and then it's like, it's over.
I think I heard on Twitter.
Was Twitter?
Yeah, a lot of people found out on Twitter. Yeah, that's true.
Twitter just found out, I think. Yeah.
Wow, that's disrespectful.
It's how information moves these days. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, you'd think that they would call you.
Yeah, it was a weird one though. I don't know. Like, is there a good way? It's like there's no good way to break up. You know what I mean? Like, the fact of the matter is, it's like I think no one. I don't think anybody.
I think
there's no
even the producers were caught off guard. I think
Woolsey
and them were like they were gonna go with the season 6, right? And that's as far as I know.
They had plans. Yeah, they were laying seeds in 5 for 6. The Asgard were gonna probably be back, in some fashion. You had a whole laundry list of things to do.
But isn't it possible that there that the guarantee, the 2-year guarantee for the new show for Universe may have had something to do with it?
That's what I heard, but I don't know. Who knows? I mean, everything's like hearsay for my. I don't know anything for sure. I'll ask Brad. I'm talking to Brad on Monday apparently for his.
Yeah. What's all the scuttlebutt about a new thing now that Amazon's bought it?
So Brad is still in development of his show that he's been working on for 2 years now. I've been calling it SG4, because we all want it to be a continuation of the continuity. If Amazon is fast tracking it or not or whatever, we don't know what's going on. So I'm just one of these people who have been telling everyone, let's wait and see. Brad and the folks that are involved, when it's time for us to start pushing it, they'll let us know. If there is anything. But I mean, with Amazon picking this thing up, there's going to be something Stargate at some point in the next few years here. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah, I mean, like I can't imagine it having certainly me in it, but it just seems like crazy not to have, like, it's such a iconic franchise at this point. I can't imagine why they wouldn't like relaunch it in some way, shape, or form. You know, it's been really fun though. I played the RPG game. Rainbow, have you tried that? It's based on the 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and it's really fun because it's
doing it.
They're set up like
Rainbow was with you. Yeah.
Oh, you did it as well. Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Right. Okay. All right.
You were the two
that's
in it.
Right. That's
from this
right.
group.
Of course.
Yeah.
I
think it's actually
fun.
incredible.
Yeah,
It's incredible.
That's been really fun. Honestly, of all of the Stargate stuff to come out since Stargate, that's the most exciting thing to me.
And what, you pick like a character and then you play as that character?
The Stargate SG-1 role-playing game. It's coming out later this year, and
but it's designed
really,
in episodes.
Really fun.
Yeah, it really is.
Really fun. I had like no preconceived notion of what it was, and I had never played D&D, but I had always wanted to. And when we did it, I had the time of my life.
Did you get to play as yourself, Rainbow?
Right?
Yeah.
Did you play as yourself, Rainbow?
It's season 6 SG-1.
No, you pick your own characters. So it's set on a fictitious like outside of the beltway of content in season 6 of SG-1. It's called Phoenix Sight, and you create a new character. David Nykl, I tried to get you on. I think you would love it. Torri, I think you would enjoy it too, and Paul and Bob.
It's
I'm
actually
not really good
come
at video
back.
games.
It's
That's not what it is. That's not what it is.
It's Dungeons and Dragons.
It's all imagination. It's super fun. You would
There's a
absolutely
game
love
master
it.
there who takes you through the story, and
You
then
don't need
just
reaction time to play this game, right?
No.
Right, because I draw the line at that.
It's
Yeah,
a good one for us, Bob.
Actually,
What?
Robert, you'd love it too. It's kind of fun. It's Dungeons and Dragons. It's like you enter a cavern. Where do you and people are
what do you
like
do
doing
next?
voices and stuff and
It's very fun.
Turn
I
around
didn't
and
realize
get out of the
Rainbow. I didn't
cavern.
realize you hadn't played it before because you were like we did the first.
Mhm.
I couldn't do the second one, but
I did
Right.
the second one as well. I did the second one as well.
We'll
Yeah.
have the third one later this year, The Butcher of Abydos Part 2, and it's fantastic. Yeah, they have
we're
great game
we're on a
masters.
cliffhanger.
Butcher of Abydos.
Right. Yeah. So we had Alexis Cruz in a scene and Skara in the same scene, and that was real trippy.
Yeah, he had to talk to
Nice.
himself. It was interesting.
Paul, pay attention.
I am.
I appreciate you guys joining us. This has been fantastic. My father and I, we are fairly different people, and one of the few things that we've always had in common is science fiction. My family would get together, we would watch your show, and we'd be teleported away one night a week, and it helped improve us as people and as human beings. Can you tell us briefly an experience that you've had with a fan where it helped shape your life for the better, where the show helped shape their lives for the better? Your character, Atlantis, helped them give them a push to what they needed to do or what they were called to do.
So I still get lots of amazing letters from mostly young women. And I remember being very jealous during Stargate because Rachel got all these wonderful letters from people going, "You're so hot." And I was like, I don't get any "you're so hot" letters. But it took a few years before I got all these letters from these young women. And it was so beautiful and very moving and very surprising. I just didn't, because to me, I grew up, sort of in the 70s. So there's a lot of strong women on television in the 70s. There was a great, and then at this time, 20 years ago, kind of the strongest woman on television at that point was Lisa Simpson. Like there was this very sexualized thing going on with women, and you didn't have very many strong women who weren't sexualized on television anymore. So once I made that leap, I felt really grateful for being that voice. And I still get letters from women, a lot of gay women that felt very empowered by having a woman who had power and was leading with her heart, not her sexuality, or using that as an access to power. And that was really moving. And I've also met so many young women who said, I went to study political science because of Weir. Like, I feel very honored that I got to play Elizabeth Weir. I think she was a very cool character. And I'm so grateful for those guys for writing her, because she was necessary and she was an honor to play. And to this day, I'm still moved by the number of young women that are grateful for her and grateful for her giving them a sense of power and a voice. So
I think one of the most amazing legacies, to echo what Torri's saying, is I think what we brought to everyone, and you see this as you go to different conventions all over the world, is companionship. So I think we were in people's living rooms, and we were in people's bedrooms, and people that don't necessarily, didn't have friends or a community back sort of in the early days of the internet. And the fandom really brought that together. And that's I think the biggest legacy of that is the people that come up to me and say, just countless personal stories, health stories, related stories, but just how sort of the companionship of having these friends come into your house every week sort of got them through tough times. And now it's generational, as David alluded to earlier. David Hewlett, that you start, the kids come up and says, I was watched it with my dad, or as you just said, David. So that sort of stuff it really is humbling, because you kind of go and you do a scene and you come home and you wash the dishes, right? You don't have really any kind of sense of where it's landing when you're doing it until you go to these conventions and you see that you've helped sort of provide companionship for people all over the world, and that's cool.
It's very cool. I just want to jump in quickly and amend. I know Rachel also got lots of fan letters from young women saying, we love your power and your strength and your intellect. She was not just a sexualized character. I just want to amend that.
Absolutely.
I never had anything that came off of my character so much, but I will say that doing the conventions and being that all of us have sort of been, as opposed to other shows, we're quite accessible. I find that we are very accessible to the people that watch the show, our friends, the friends of the show, and I certainly am. And because of the interactions and because of my openness, I deal with a heavy amount of depression in my life, and I've always been quite open about it. And I've been lucky enough to talk with a lot of fans. So not so much the character, but the show has allowed me to have an open discussion with fans about what they're going through. And so I've been able to help them, and they've been able to really help me over the past forever to get through some really hard times, And so I'm really, really grateful for that from the show. So it wasn't so much Ford, but Ford was definitely the catalyst and the conduit for that.
I appreciate what Rainbow said so much that mine is probably going to, my answer will sort of pale, I guess, by a comparison. When I think of the influence that I have many more stories, obviously, from my years on Star Trek, because I was there so much longer, as far as people being influenced to go either in the medical profession or even people that became EMTs or nurses or whatever, some aspect of medicine, or were inspired to go into some aspect of space exploration. My experience on Stargate Atlantis was obviously shorter, but because I began as just a recurring guest star who was a very unlikable person, very kind of, combative and judgmental, whatever. And then once the producers, for whatever reason, decided to try to turn me into a leader, the nice comments that I have gotten from people was about that aspect of the character development. They all start by saying, I hated your character, or I didn't like your character at all. And then I was surprised to see how you became a leader, or how you navigated those changes, or whatever, which was really, the writers were very clever in that they had how they had the audience open their heart to this character, because he really was, especially on Stargate SG-1, he was really had nothing likable about him, not a shred of compassion or humor or nothing. So the fact that if I've gotten anything, it's from people, I guess, appreciating the fact that he was redeemed, so to speak, after being such an unredeemable human being the first outing. So that would be.
He was always a seeker of truth.
That was the one thing he had. Yeah, the one thing he had was that he believed that that there had to be oversight of this secret military op. So yes, you're right. He had that one positive quality. If that's it. Yeah, it was great to see everyone, and thank you. Thanks. It's just I'm very fond of all of you, and I really wish that we had done this sooner. All right.
Thank you so much, my friend, for stopping by.
And congratulations.
Thank you,
Mr. Picardo.
Well, thank you very much.
I'm so glad that's happened for you.
Thank you. Love you all. I hope to see you again in the flesh.
Yes.
Be safe.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your pandemic.
Yeah. There's that.
Paul and Dave. Hewlett.
Sure. Okay. I mean, I think I'm very much of the rainbow on this one. I feel like I'm very lucky that a lot of people do come up and say, like, I'm an astrophysicist because of this, or I'm at NASA. I mean, those kind of things are wild, but I can't. I feel like the thing that's hit me the most is the accessibility, is what I've been able to do because of Stargate. The people who I've met who I never would have met without Stargate. I mean, the Tech Bandits thing's been really interesting for me because basically what I've been able to do is take all of those people who've gone on to do things who are influenced in some way, shape, or form from the Stargate stuff, and sort of mine them for information for the next generation, right? So it's I love the access it's given us. I mean, and especially I'd be very lucky with McKay because of the science angle. I've been able to explore all this like stuff that I find fascinating, and I never would have been able to do that without the show. I mean, it wouldn't exist. So it is amazing that the number of people who still come up and say like it's affected them in some way, shape, or form. But honestly, I think it's probably affected me more than any of the people that just the change in my life since that has been extraordinary. So
Blessed one.
Yeah.
Paul McGillion, you always had, Carson so often reflected what the audience was feeling. And I suspect you had to get that in response from fans.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, it was such a lovely character to play, and I think he kind of wears heart on his sleeve a lot, and it was so sweet. And mine's more of a little fan. I think I've told it before, but we were in Ireland and I was in Dublin at a comic book signing, a place called Forbidden Planet. And I love little kids and stuff. And this little boy was in line and he had a little toucan. And every time I looked up, he was like, give me a thumbs up. And he finally got up to the table and he said, "Oh, Mr. McGillion, I'm so happy to meet you. I just love Dr. Beckett. I want to be a doctor someday." I said, "Oh, that's great." And he goes, and I said, "What? So lovely to meet you. What can I get for you?" And he goes, "Oh, nothing, sir. I just got a piece of my birthday cake. I just turned 11." And he gave me his cake on a napkin. And he goes to walk away. I'm like, whoa, get over here. I go, "You can pick a picture for your birthday." He goes, "Oh, sir, we don't have any money." And his mom was standing close by, and I could just see, you could just tell, they didn't have a lot of money. And I said, "This is for your birthday. It's a gift from me." And the little face on him, it like broke my heart. And he goes, "Well, and he had to ask his mom if it's okay." And I said, "It's okay if I give him a picture." And she looked at me and she gave me a little nod, and it was okay. And he picked a picture and he just took it as he walked away. He was just holding it and looking at it. And it just said to me, like, what an impact you can make, and you don't even realize it, in a little guy like that, and he was so happy. And that's, I think, a testament.
But how was the cake?
I
bet it was good.
But it was just so sweet, what a little guy, and just make his day, over something, over a television show, and I think that's what Stargate does. Like, all of you have mentioned different things, but it does bring families together. And you see all the different people that grow up with the show, and that's that's what makes it so special, and special to be part of.
And intimately, right? Intimately, we're not in a movie. We're in their living room. We're in their living room, right? Every week and consistently too. That's another thing. It happens every week, right? You get
it's like a family
relationships.
Do not underestimate your contributions to people's lives. I mean, I like Rainbow, I have struggled with depression all my life, and all of you, I mean, I am so blessed to have all of you in my life in one form or another. I love you guys. You have been, it's been so good growing with you over these past years and continuing to share what was such an important chapter in science fiction and a quality show that made us think and made us wonder and made us ask those questions.
Well, thank you, David. Thank you. You're always so supportive, and you're always bringing us together, and you're always creating. And thank you for this. This was lovely to see all this.
Yeah, it really was.
But
This was a great thing to do.
All of you, thank you so much for making this happen and recognizing the important work that you guys did and continue to do as this thing gets reinvented, again and again throughout the years. So one quick question, yes or no? Cindy Hayward, Just Another Day, Riot Hunt, Whiskey Barber, Redux, and Phil.
Hang in there, Torri.
All wanted to know, would you be game for returning for SG4? Because I know Rainbow, I know Ford's going to own the Pegasus galaxy by the next time we see him. He's not dead. I don't believe it. So,
Torri, you go first.
Yes, there's my
Hi,
dog.
Zigzag.
And yes, Absolutely, yes. We do it in a heartbeat. I do it in a heartbeat. Look, I just answered for all of us. I'm gonna go.
Thank you, Torri. Go.
Thank you,
Lots of
Torri.
love, Torri.
So good to see you guys.
Thank
So
you.
good.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Love
Take
you,
care. Bye.
Yeah.
But yeah, you guys would be down.
Yes.
Legit.
Yes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we'd be
Fun.
stupid not to, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, look, that's one of the, what I talk about. One of the things you get out of this is that, it takes so little to make someone's day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you're on the subway and someone says something and you say hi back or shake their hand or sign something for them. I mean, like, it's just such a great, it's a great pick me up. You know what I mean? Like I never thought, I never thought like 20 years later, you'd still get that kind of little ego boost every couple of, every couple of weeks or whatever. It's lovely. It's great.
When you go to your house, your little basement dwelling that you're in.
Yeah, when I look in the mirror and I say, "You're a really good actor."
I would love to. I've said
Can you
this
sign?
before.
Can you sign?
Yeah, Rainbow.
Oh, I just said I've said this to you before, but I
Yeah.
would love to. I've grown so much since then.
Yeah.
I would love to be able to revisit for now with much more insight and more.
It's been great watching you, Rainbow. Like honestly, you're just get better and better every time I see you. It's amazing to see what you've got up to. Yeah, Paul, you've just got worse, but Rainbow, you've really picked it up.
David, you just never stop talking. It's
I got to get that 50% comedy in, right?
Yeah.
Something's gonna be funny.
50.
Guys, this has been terrific. Thank you so much for taking so much time with us. We went a little bit over, but it's going to be
I've been in
gold
my
to the
apartment
fans.
for a year. I have
None of us are like dashing off, really, are we? We're
Well,
waiting for
conventions, they're not gone for good. I think we're really starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel here, and I can't wait to see y'all in person again.
Yeah,
And
likewise.
my tremendous thanks to David Hewlett, Torri Higginson, Paul McGillion, Rachel Luttrell, Rainbow Sun Francks, David Nykl, and Robert Picardo for joining us in this very special 100th episode. And I have, as trying to get back to the root of what this show has been about, the fans, Stargate Art for you. This is one that I've been hanging on to a while. This is Steampunk Atlantis by Lena. And she describes it as archival photograph from the Atlantis expedition of 1907 for an AU prompt challenge using the main Stargate Atlantis team. My prompt was steampunk. As usual, many references used. All the characters are referenced. I looked at vintage photos for ideas of the poses and some of the costumes. Notably, Rodney's pose and clothes are referenced from a vintage photo of H. Rider Haggard. This is an homage since I read and loved his books as a kid, and he's partly responsible for my love of the concept of steampunk. The Zeppelin is based on vintage photos of the Graf Zeppelin. My thanks to my team, as always, for continuing to make the show possible. Summer, Tracy, Keith, Jeremy, Reese, Anthony, and Linda Gabri-Fury, my producer, and my production assistant, Jennifer Kirby. 100 episodes, man. It took us a little bit, but not as long as I would have thought. So I will be back this fall with season 2, and we will be going from there. But we're going to continue to pump out content over the summer. Hope you're enjoying that. And that's what we've got. Thanks so much for tuning in to Dial the Gate. My name is David Reed, and I'll see you on the other side.